1952. After a pair of oil tankers are destroyed during a blizzard, a Coast Guard has to make a daring rescue attempt off the coast of Cape Cod. It is November 1951 in Wellfleet, Massachusetts. Two male friends decide to meet two ladies for a date. They reach the location and park their car opposite the restaurant. Bernard Bernie Weber and Gus are friends. He is a crewman at Coast Guard Station Chatham, Massachusetts on Cape Cod. Bernie is scared as he hasn't met the woman before but has talked to her for a while now. He is nervous about his looks and is worried about what if the woman did not like the way he looks. His friend, on the other hand, asks him to calm down and not overthink things. Even while he walks inside the restaurant, all he could think of was how Miriam would not like her. Gus, Bernie's friend, says he is the one taking a risk as he is meeting a woman on a double date he has never met or talked to before. When they enter, Bernie mistakenly thinks the woman inside is Miriam. The woman was her friend Catherine, who pointed towards Miriam. Gus and Catherine start to talk while Bernie waits for Miriam to turn around. After her call, she turns and Bernie falls in love with her instantly. Not only Bernie but Miriam, too, is attracted to him. The woman is Miriam Pentinen, a local woman. She and Bernie connect. After meeting each other, the couples go out for the night. They settle down in a cozy restaurant. On their way inside, Catherine teases Miriam as Miriam had never been on a boat in her life. Bernie tries to console her but she says she is not scared of water, she is just scared of sailing at night as one does not know what is underneath the waters. Inside, while Gus and Catherine are talking to each other at a distance, Bernie and Miriam talk. Bernie asks why Miriam did not agree to meet before. Miriam says she felt inferior as Bernie is handsome. She was scared about the fact that Bernie might not like how Miriam looks. Bernie consoles her by saying she is all he thought of and better. While Bernie is talking about his elder brother Paul, who lives in Germany and is their father's favorite, Catherine and Gus enter the conversation. Gus thinks it is better to get Miriam on a boat today. Catherine agrees. At the end of the dates, they decide to get onto a boat that Bernie can ride well as he is a Coast Guard. At first, Bernie was reluctant along with Miriam, but they agreed. Miriam says she would agree only if Bernie is with her. Bernie talks to Mr. Stello and asks whether he could borrow his Anna G to go around the harbor. Mr. Stello agrees. Bernie helps her get into the boat. Just as she steps inside, Miriam kisses him and runs away, laughing. Time passes. 4 months later, the date is February 17, 1952. Bernie and Miriam are together at a dance alongside many couples. Bernie asks Miriam to follow his lead and she follows. While swaying, Miriam asks whether Bernie will marry her. Bernie stops moving and Miriam asks the question again. There, he rejects her, which makes Miriam teary and heartbroken. Not wanting to stay near Bernie, Miriam runs out of the building. Bernie did not expect it and he ran behind Miriam. When he catches up with her, he tries to change the topic, but when he does not get any response from Miriam, he explains that he wishes to marry her in the future but the only thing stopping him is his job. Miriam understands his reason and assures him that she will stick around with him no matter what. Bernie decides that he definitely will marry her. After hugging each other, Bernie asks when she wishes to get married. Miriam says she wants to get married on April 16th. Bernie immediately agrees, but he adds that in accordance with Coast Guard regulation, Bernie must first seek permission from the station's commanding officer Daniel Clough. He knows it is just a formality, but Bernie wants to follow the protocol. He promises to ask about it tomorrow. The duo head home. On the other hand, during a stormy night, 2 oil tankers are sailing on the ocean. Oil tanker SS Pendleton is 10 miles northeast of Chatham, Massachusetts, and continued to sail despite the heavy winds and pouring rain. The crew inside is working and taking measures to avoid the water filling the tanker. Engineer Ray Seibert talks to his captain. He tries to tell the captain to slow the ship's speed as the winds are wild and it could be unsafe for himself as well as his crew. Everything inside the tank is normal, with some people playing cards while others cook. With time, the storm becomes so intense that the waves violently hit the board. Some crew members believe it is just a normal wave. The man calls the captain back, asking for permission to slow down the ship as with the current speed, the ship is in danger of breaking. The waves are so violent that one such wave succeeds in breaking a hole into the ship. Water starts to spill inside the ship and there is chaos inside the tanker and men are thrown all over the place. It shears in half off the coast. With the wave and its impact, everybody falls. Some are injured while others are okay. Most of them get to work. Frank Fatu orders the men to start working. A man stares at the top of the ship, where he witnesses another ship just miles away, drowning underwater. He is extremely petrified. The ship that sank is SS Fort Mercer. Bernie, the next day, enters his office. He greets his team members. Today is the day when he will ask his superior Daniel Clough for permission. While talking to Andrew, who is one of his team members, Bernie learns that an oil tank had sunk underwater. He enters Mr. Clough's office and asks for permission, but is instead given an order to pick himself a crew and rescue ships. Bernie agrees but still tries to talk about him and Miriam, but Mr. Clough disregards it, telling him now is not the time to talk about things like that. Bernie nods and leaves. He is dispatched to pilot motor lifeboat CG-36-500 to rescue the crew of the ship. The chief believes they should take the 36-383 out of the stage harbor, as taking CG-36-500 is almost like an impossible mission, but Mr. Clough disagrees. Bernie is joined by Andrew Fitzgerald, Irvin Mask, and Richard P. Livesey as they, too, volunteered for the rescue mission. Before Bernie leaves, he calls and talks to Miriam. Miriam asks Bernie whether he had talked to Mr. Clough about their marriage, but he declines. They end the call and Bernie gets himself ready. Inside the ship, men are standing in a circular group. They are praying for the lives of the members they have lost, especially Chief Collagen. Another crew member, Brown, thinks they have spent too much time. Cody is angered by Brown's behavior and says that everyone deserves a respectful goodbye. Meanwhile, Frank meets Ray and talks about Brown's plan to launch lifeboats. Frank finds Brown lazy and knows that he does not want to work, hence he is looking for solutions. He thinks it is better if Ray talks to the crew members to stay in a team. As Ray is an engineer and knows every inch of the ship, the crew members would listen to everything he says and follow it rightfully. Ray knows he has to save the ship and keep it afloat and agrees with Frank. He suggests that they run the boat aground to keep it steady. The men follow and prepare themselves for it. He is also the surviving officer. Ray organizes the surviving seamen to steer the sinking stern of the tanker onto a submerged reef. The submerged reef can lodge until the rescuers arrive. Brown thinks they are left all alone by everybody, adding that nobody would come to save the men. Query believes it is stupid to get on the lifeboats and escape as the winds are wild and the waves are strong. The radio starts to work successfully. Men get to work. In the chaos, many men start to fight. Brown already has a small boat ready for himself, but Ray comes by and cuts off the rope. Just as he does, the ship crashes into the boat and it is in pieces. Brown gets furious and starts to attack Ray, but is stopped by the other crew members. Understanding the situation, he too agrees to help. Back at the station, Mr. Clough is surrounded by other team members. Boston and Nantucket have tried to dispatch their boats but are proven to be unsuccessful. They could not even reach the ship in this weather. Some crew members believe Mr. Clough is incapable of doing his job, as they believe he is not from the area to understand it well. Miriam keeps trying to contact Bernie, but to no avail. The men on the boat work hard to steer the boat. The men of the Coast Guard ride through the storm across the treacherous water. They do get hit with the wave that nearly throws them off their boat, but they successfully hang on tight and continue to face the roaring storm. On the other hand, Miriam learns that Bernie is leading the rescue mission. She thinks it is an impossible mission and is extremely upset about it. She immediately drives to the station with tears threatening to escape her eyes. As soon as she enters the station, she meets Mr. Clough and demands that he call Bernie along with the others back from the mission. Mr. Clough disagrees with it, saying she should know better as she is about to get married to a Coast Guard. Miriam continues to plead to him to call them back, but Mr. Clough quickly yet arrogantly orders Miriam to leave. She leaves the station and is heartbroken. On her way, she accidentally loses control of the car, which results in her driving into a mountain of snow where her car gets stuck. At night, Miriam finds a car heading her way. When the car stops, a woman is inside along with her 2 children. When Miriam explained her situation to her, she agreed to help. At her place, Miriam turns the radio on to keep up with the new information she receives. The woman believes keeping up with it is useless. When Miriam says she knows Bernie, the woman agrees. Bernie, along with some of his friends, tried to get out a year ago to save her husband. A while later, the woman introduces herself as the wife of Carl Nickerson. Carl Nickerson is the man that reported the tanker's sinking. Miriam blames the man as she feels he is indirectly responsible for why Bernie and his friends are out in the storm trying to execute an impossible mission. Carl gets Miriam's car out of the mound. Between Chatham Harbor and the open sea, there lies a bar and a series of shoals. Shoals are very dangerous even in good weather. Bernie knows he must time bursts of his engine to ride each and every approaching wave before it breaks. He starts to pilot CG-36-500 across the bar with due diligence. He successfully makes it over the bar, but during the process, he loses his compass. He then steers CG-36-500 to the stricken tanker. Even though his boat's designated capacity is 12 people, Bernie asks the men to try and get onto the boat. They drop Jacob's ladder down, which is used by the men to descend slowly. Some people, while descending to reach the rescue boat, fall into the water but are safely pulled onto the motorboat. Others jump and Richard, Andy along with Irvin catch them. The ship's cook, Tiny Myers, falls into the water. They believe they could save him, but Tiny Myers is killed when his head is struck by the tanker. Pendleton's stern begins to sink more rapidly during the rescue and some people panic. The stern goes down shortly after the last crewman, that is Ray, comes on board Bernie's boat. All sigh in relief. Where the capacity is restricted to 12, he successfully manages to rescue 32 crewmen. Bernie immediately calls the station back. He informs the station that they have rescued the men but have lost their compass. They do not have any way of making it back to the shore. He decides to rely on his knowledge of the coast and the winds in place of the compass and starts to direct CG-36-500. He steers it towards home, but the task is proved to be more challenging as Chatham loses its power. Knowing it can affect the men and can misdirect them, Miriam along with multiple citizens bring their cars around the shoreline. They flash their headlights to give the men a signal. The crew follows it and they make it back safely. As soon as they are seen, people cheer on them as heroes. Bernie and Miriam reunite. They embrace each other and share a kiss. 2 months after the rescue, Bernie and Miriam marry. The beautiful couple stayed together for 58 years till 2009, when Bernie died. He, along with his crew Andy Fitzgerald, Richard Livesley, and Irvin Mask received the Gold Life-Saving Medal.